T-Mill, come out and play.
Play it loud.
What's up? It's the Isabel Brothers. We in Maitland Conservatory, and we in tune with T-Mill.
We're changing the status quo one voice at a time through music, edutainment, children, and awareness. We're progressing and preserving the culture through real conversations with people who've had real success. Multicultural artists and musicians, models, entrepreneurs, innovators, and activists. This is Paradox East, and you are in tune with T-Mill. Powered by the MaitlandConservatory.org.
Thank you for listening to In Tune with T-Mill.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of In Tune with T-Mill. You will now be encouraged and entertained. Nothing will change until you change something. We're going to change the status quo today. You guys that are watching live are in for a treat because y'all get to watch both episodes 2 times. Those 2 episodes back to back right here on In Tune with T-Mill, live at the Maitland Conservatory. And our guests, we are in the building with the Isabel Brothers. All right? You know what I'm saying? If I had the squad with me, they'd be doing some hand claps, but I'm going to put all that in. There we go. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So singing with hard effects, you know. And today we're going to be talking about, this is the Get Money, Get Power series. Okay. We're talking about economic empowerment.
Yeah.
And on this side of the show, we're talking about black awareness. And I know when y'all hear that word, you may be thinking a whole lot, you know, but David and I have been talking about doing this episode for the fact that we want people to not be woke and, you know, all this, you sleeping, you got to know this and you got to know that, but to really start to be proud of ourselves, the things that we're doing, the abilities that we have. So I had to bring in a professional because I can't talk about it. You know what I'm saying? I need some help with this, you guys. So welcome, guys. How you doing?
What's going on? What's going on? Good to be here. Good to be here.
All right. And to talk about empowerment, you know what I'm saying, what you guys are doing is empowering. Okay. And it's a great example for kids. I don't care what color they are to do something and follow their dreams. So we're talking about black awareness. And again, I specifically wanted, let me tell you guys something. I wanted to do this outside of February. I wanted to, you know, because part of it, yeah, I specifically waited until after, because when we were booking the show, I was looking at the dates and I was looking at the calendar, and I said, okay, yeah, I can book them in Black History Month. So I'm going to tell David, yeah, come Black History Month.
Yeah.
Then I thought about it, I was like, nah, I ain't going to do it in Black History Month. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? One, it's too cliche. Yeah. And then 2, maybe we should be worried about black awareness every month.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That is definitely something we should have on 24/7.
Yeah. So,
on our minds.
So, David, when you're very passionate, very encouraging, you got a light, you know what I'm saying? Like, remember The Last Dragon, you know what I'm saying, with the glow. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You guys got when you meet people that have that aura, you know, of just positivity, when you come around them, and you know what I'm saying, you guys have that. Y'all don't walk around with chips on your shoulders. If you do, you eat them or you put them away. You don't see them, you know. So, right? If you got chips on your shoulder, you just, you know, eat them up. Yeah, but black awareness, what, just that word, and I know what it means, but to you, what does that mean?
Black awareness, to me, I would say black awareness is to care and to put in the forefront of everything that you do, the need to feel good about yourself. And that's, you know, and I say that in a vague way on purpose because a lot of us are mixed with different things, have different backgrounds, and we gravitate towards different cultures. But black awareness means to, whatever black means to you, to be proud of that and to embrace that. And that can be a hard thing to do as we define black daily, so it seems. And that irritates me a little bit because me and Joanne and our sister Kim were discussing black just on the way back from Atlanta last night. discussing black, you know, and it's just, even that is difficult, and it pains me a little bit as you see me speak out a lot of times publicly, because it seems that everybody else has a pretty defined definition of what, you know, we know what Asian is, you know, or we accept it. We know what, you know, kind of in a way what white is, but black is just like out there, and just like it's up for debate. It's up to be, you know, to be built up and torn down, you know, with no kind of buffer, like nothing is really concrete for any of us, our children, or, you know, any of us, you know, growing to really hold on to.
For for the public, or for the mass, just every other race,
yeah,
where everybody agrees that this is black,
right?
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
To us, we may agree, but to everybody else, like
right. And we try. I mean, we've tried in the past to try and do that with stuff like Soul Train. We try and, you know, get a black identity.
You seen the new Sports Center commercial?
About what?
All right, let me tell you what they did with the Sports Center commercial.
Okay.
You guys got it, because I have to cut you off, but this is
yeah.
So the Sports Center commercial, you know, they got a new show at 6. It's Jamel Hill and Michael somebody.
Yeah.
But what they did was they took first of all, they got a budget. So somebody gave them a budget for this show, because they got their commercials are off the hook right now for this Sports Center show. Yeah. So what they did with this next one is they recreated the Different World opening intro, and they, you know, included all the characters in there, and well, some of the older characters. They didn't have Kadeem Hardison, they didn't have a boy in there, you know, so y'all must ain't had a whole lot of money, you know.
The Kadeem money,
they had the Kadeem money, but they had everybody else in there, and it felt good, because my son asked me, he was like, when I said, "Oh man, that's me and my wife," I was like, "Oh, that's the Different World." She's like, "Oh yeah." And so he asked me, "What's the Different World?" And I had to explain to him, you know, all right, go to Netflix. I'm gonna put you on game. Right. But again, that's why I brought that up, you know, because again, that's a good thing.
Yeah. And black identity is it pains me, like I said, because, you know, it's kind of like trying to build a house, but every time you put up 2 bricks, you take down 2 bricks. You know, after a while, you're gonna get frustrated. But like, why I don't have a house yet? You know, and that to me is black identity. Is I personally search and try to find, you know, I search my spirit and my, you know, in what I see, to try and find, well, okay, well, if I can just get 1 brick, what can I lay 1 brick down? You know, can I get a brick here, get a brick there? You know what I'm saying? And it just, for us, for every time we tend to build bricks, is like, us ourselves as black people tend to like question those bricks, or like take them down and try to, you know, twist them around, and it's like we do a lot of,
you get them bricks from.
Yeah, we kind of do a lot of micromanaging. What, you know, what all we're trying to do is build a house, and you look next door at the Asian house, you look next door at the you know, at the Caucasian house, or the you know, the Indian house, or, you know, Hispanic house, and everybody got a house, and it's like, well, we don't have one. And a lot of times, because we can't seem to, you know, put down bricks.
Or we want to live in somebody else's house.
Or we want to live in somebody else's house. You know,
I mean, how long have we been, when you put it like that, have we been building a house for about 40 years now, 50 something years, or the same house that we've been trying to build?
Right.
You know, we might have had one, you know, with Black Wall Street, and
attempting to build one, definitely attempting to build one, but that's significant that you say that, because when we look back historically, which a lot of times we don't like to do, when we look back all the way back to slavery and Willie Lynch, which we are very, you know what I'm saying, passionate about putting that information out there.
Because he don't say slaves.
Yeah. You know, that's when we look back to something that when we talk about slavery, we often don't talk about Willie Lynch. You know what I'm saying, along with slavery. And Willie Lynch was essential in our enslavement, because I can't speak for other people who've been enslaved in history, but I don't know if they had psychological, you know, kind of brainwashing that was a part of that. Right. And Willie Lynch was definitely a part of that brainwashing that kind of teaches us not to want a house, to depend on master's house, you know, and to embrace confusion and get used to confusion and facilitate confusion. And to this day, you know, even he said this will work, you know what I'm saying, for a long time. To
this day.
And to this day, that's where we at with it. And a lot of times we don't see that. We can't, I don't know, it's good. Like, you know, it's good. That's kind of like Frankenstein. What's the guy who's trying to get Frankenstein?
It was Dr. Frankenstein.
Dr.
Frankenstein's actually the monster.
Right. He's a monster. But I mean, but the doctor, I just know Eeyore. Like, I know, you know, Eeyore, and then you got like, but the doctor is just like, it's like some Dr. Frankenstein type stuff. You creating a monster, and like the monster don't know it's a monster. It's just up and alive, and it's just like out of control, and that's kind of how we are. You talking about Black awareness. That's why it's important to me just to try to. I see it. You know, sometimes I'm alone in seeing it, but I try and embrace the different visions and the different input, because all that's important too. You know, but
and for those of y'all that because he mentioned Willie Lynch, you guys can go and look it up. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's the Willie Lynch letter.
How to make a slave.
Check it out. How to make a slave. And if you read that in its entirety, all right. First of all, it ain't gonna take you but 5 minutes, because some of y'all gonna see that it's more than 2 paragraphs, and I'll read this later. It ain't gonna take you 5 minutes to read it. All right. Some of y'all's Instagram posts are longer than that, and Facebook posts are longer than that. Y'all ain't talking about nothing.
Text messages,
you know what I'm saying?
Text messages longer than it.
So read it in its entirety. Right.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of drama in it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So read it in its entirety.
Right.
And you know what? Real talk, and I tell y'all, no lie, I think, because my kids, they always come up with, they do something different for their Black History project every year. Me, I cheated. I did Malcolm X every year, but they do something now, like different every year. Next year we're gonna do the Willie Lynch.
It's gonna be good. You know what I'm saying? It's so powerful. You know what I'm saying? For engineering or for reverse engineering. Like I challenge you to go ahead and take the Willie Lynch letter and screenshot it or whatnot. Download it to your phone, screenshot it, and just make it your screensaver. And that'll force you to whenever you look at your phone, it'll force you to read it. You don't have to sit down if it's gonna pain you to read the whole thing. Right now or tonight. Just make it your screensaver and then read bits and pieces of it, and what you know what I'm saying, just do that, and it's funny because actually you'll be able to take the letter with you as you move through life, especially if you're of darker skin complexion, and you'll be able to see during barbecues or during work, you'll be able to see parts of that letter in your everyday experiences.
You're gonna, when you read it, you automatically, and here's the thing, all right, all y'all gangsters and everybody hard and everybody just there's no way you can make it all the way through that letter without recognizing something
that's affected you, or you've been a part of it. Yeah.
And that's, I think, where some of us get afraid, or then we turn it off because then it's too real. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to the dude that was at the club that you was talking to his chick and he ran up on you, he talking all this nonsense. Now you ready to kill him, but you can't make it through this letter because it hurts you too bad.
Right.
But you can talk all this nonsense on social media. There's a lot of pain, in that letter. There's a lot of trauma, in that letter, and it does hurt, but at the same time, it's real. You got to face your fears and be aware. Again, like say that for your screenshot. So don't be scared. Don't be scared to read. If y'all so hard and everybody's so woke and all that, just read the letter and make it through that. Now if you need somebody, with you, call somebody or get somebody like real talk. Like make it through it. Have a conversation about it. And if you get upset about it, ask yourself, why am I getting upset at this? Because it's real.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. It's definitely something that you could learn from, and you can share with others with the Willie Lynch letter. Y'all check it out.
Definitely. Now because I know somebody's going to ask this, have you seen Get Out yet?
I have seen Get Out.
What'd you think?
I thought Get Out was a great movie with its social commentary. Me being an athlete, being in that position before, and me being warned about that position. It was actually from different angles. What I'm saying, when they had the guy with TSA, he was a different angle. He was kind of like that person that we all know.
Yeah, you got one of those.
He was that person he was that brother that we all know, or that parent that we've heard speak on that situation.
They're talking crazy, but they talking something real.
Exactly, and so I thought Get Out was great to be able to show, and it made a lot of people uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? A lot like,
as it should.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, a lot like other movies I've seen that they kind of talk about that. And what surprises me is that a lot of non-black people go to those movies.
Yep.
And I always sit there and wonder, like, why are you here? It's like, why? Like, it's gonna be, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
They really,
That's a good question.
They do, you know what I'm saying, Roots, and they bring out Roots, starring Will Smith. It's gonna be a lot of white people there. It's like, this is about you, but yet you still coming to, you know what I'm saying? But, that's just kind of
a good question.
I just want to know. To me, it's just a question. I don't have an answer.
I'm gonna go and I want to ask. Hey, let me ask, why are you here? Have that.
Yeah.
Because real talk, that's a good question. You know what I'm saying? Like, why are you here?
Right.
Are you here just for the entertainment, or
are you trying to change? Like,
trying to change? You know what I'm saying? Like,
but why are you here?
You know, you're trying to figure out how to do it. You know, like figure it out. I think one of the things that I respect about the film is that it wasn't. It wasn't sort of this apologetic, we're going to do this in a safe way to not offend. It wasn't afraid. Yeah. It wasn't afraid to offend.
Right.
Or to be honest, not necessarily not afraid to offend, but just afraid to be honest from that perspective. To whereas some other films may say, oh, no, we can't show that like that. You know, we can't do that. Right. You know, that may offend someone.
Right. Very unapologetic.
Art is art. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to respect, you know, if we're going to say respect everyone's opinion and whatever, art is art at the end of the day. If that's not harming anyone, if that's not, you know, physically harming someone, if we don't, and again, if this was a movie about the KKK and they made whatever they were going to make, if it's honest to them and their story, whatever, you can't do nothing but respect it. You don't have to like it, but you have to respect it's art. Right. But if they were to sort of twist it to say, oh, well, you can't do that because that wouldn't be right. No, tell the right story. You know? So from that aspect, them being real with it, to be honest and not afraid, I like that. And
I think that was, you know, as us as filmmakers and content producers, it was good for us to see, you know, kind of like glaring lights of honesty, maybe being able to, you know, make its way onto the big screen because, you know, for the longest time, especially being a black person, you know, a lot of times the things we go through and the things we want to express, people disregard and they say, oh, well, that's not really how it is. That's not really how your black experience is. Like, you know, if a cop pulls you over, that's not really how you feel. And we're like, yeah, that's how I feel. You know what I'm saying? So like to be able to see examples of like, you know, more honesty being put out there, you know, in on the big screen is very inspiring.
Did y'all see? Because sometimes I watch movies from this aspect. I love horror movies. So between horror movies and maybe even action movies, I look at a scene sometimes, and I think it's going to go one way to be safe, and then it goes left. So did that happen, you know, for y'all when y'all like, ooh, I didn't know they were going to go there.
I pretty much, when I was watching, I pretty much, everything that came up, from watching the trailers, I pretty much pieced it together.
Okay, but you can know that, okay, this is going to be honest. It's not going to...
Yeah, now, I was shocked by how, like you said, how honest the film director's point of view was and how kind of like unafraid he was to attack certain issues when it came to race relations. How the white girlfriend tries to take up for the black boyfriend because he obviously isn't, you know, strong enough, or he isn't like, you know, he is always, you need help. You can't do it on your own. And I like how they tackled that from that perspective when she got out, when the policeman came up and she's like, nobody fucks with my boy, whatever.
Or she wants to kind of tame him. She don't want him to get too irate or kind of, you know, lose. He don't have no kind of sense.
That's another.
And it was very. I think Peoples did that on purpose as far as keeping him very subdued. Like, you didn't really see him get upset or angry to the very end when he was trying to fight for his life.
Right, but you could tell, and I could be wrong, I sort of got the sense that, and based on some other films, I didn't get that feeling like, oh, he a punk. You know, this is just a punk through the whole thing.
That's because the guy was a good actor. He could have came off like he was a punk. But even in those moments of withdrawal, he still gave you elements of contemplation.
So I ain't no killer, but don't push me. You know?
He was just like, you could tell through his eyes and the way he was acting that he was like he was smart. He made that character smart instead of just like a docile, like, he could have played that kind of like, oh, I don't really want to get, but he gave off like, I'm kind of smarter than you. You know what I mean? But I'm just gonna play along with this and see how it go. And I thought that was clever on the director's part to play it like, I thought that was a smart way to play it to get away from the angry black character.
Exactly.
And I think he was aware of that. And towards the end, it was funny because it was a moment when he was trying to get the keys, and he was just like, the character just went overboard, and I could tell like the director was like, okay, now's the time for you to get angry. But I thought that was a bit much because it was like
drawn out.
That was the time I felt like he should have been more withdrawal, because it's like, wow.
I'm only going to ask you one time.
All the smartest
went out the window.
At that point,
and so you can tell like, it was pushed, it was forced. Like his
give me. Like I could, you know, that was like the moment where everything kind of flipped and cracked him upside the head. It's like it justified him get into the position where he was. So I just kind of root for him to get out.
Yeah.
I got the point of it, but it was just like that was a moment as a director. I was like, okay, this is the moment where the director's pushing him, like give us the angry, like you're fighting for your life, like give it to us now.
You waiting too long, you know what I'm saying?
And as a content creator, you know what I'm saying, you definitely have your, I woulda, I shoulda, I coulda, if it was me, you know what I'm saying, type of, you know what I'm saying, opinions about it. But for the most part, we applaud it for at least getting to that point.
A lot of symbolism in it, though. Did you see the buck at the beginning when he hit the deer? That was like a symbolic of his mom, because she got on the side of the road.
I didn't think about that.
And then the whole thing with Buck and slavery, like the young Buck, the young black slave.
That part, I got that, but I didn't, with his mother, I didn't put that together.
It was a lot of similar with the action.
That's why y'all geniuses, you know what I'm saying?
It was a deep movie. But on the surface level, if you're not looking to go that deep, you're still able to appreciate it of just like they call them in the 70s, the Get Whitey movie. Like you get, that's what they call them in the 70s, the black exploitation movies. The Get Whitey. Yeah, Get Whitey.
Get Whitey.
The Return of Get Whitey.
So
that's what they called it.
First, for that aspect, and I think that should give people permission to be bold, to make a statement like that, a film or a song or whatever it is that you're creating, whatever it is that you want to say. Be honest, and be bold, find that platform to do it, find somebody with the financial backing or, the right, correct dream.
Right.
But I also think that comes with a lot of work. But again, so that's that. So now let's talk about Huntsville. Because we right here in the Rock City, in the 256, in Hunts Vegas. I don't know why they call it Hunts Vegas.
I never liked that name, but it's cool.
Right, because there ain't nothing Vegas about it. So, there's a lot of, I would say, frustration. I was going to say anger.
Okay.
But I think frustration. And a lot of people don't like what's going on with, either developments that's going on anywhere in Huntsville. We could say north side, but it's west side as well. And, I mean, all over, Madison, Harvest, all these different places. I seem to, the way I look at it is, again, it happens everywhere, and it's not just Huntsville. It just so happens that now it's, happening. It happened 30 years ago, here. But I look at it from the aspect of, what were we doing to prevent it? Now that it's happening, didn't we know all along that this was happening? You know? And maybe we didn't. Maybe our parents knew because we were too busy chasing girls at school, or skipping school, you know what I'm saying, or whatever. Or maybe we didn't have parents in the home. But somebody had to know this is going to happen in 10, 20 years, at this point. So I understand the frustration and the, oh man, this is going on. Call it whatever you want, gentrification or our neighborhoods are getting torn down or we don't have any black businesses or whatever. I get that frustration. But would it be correct to even ask that question like, well, what did we do all these years leading up to it? Not what are we going to do? I think about that Crit song, what are we going to do now? Like, I get that, but like, is it correct to kind of ask that without, sounding like a,
I mean, to me, you're asking the right questions. And, I say some of the same things. I make some of the same remarks. I'll put it like this. I'll say it like this. You bring up, what are we doing now? What are we going to do now? Now that we see it, you said that, which a lot of us do. A lot of us do see it.
Because remember, and if you guys remember, because I know y'all movie buffs, so I try to get y'all some. Y'all probably already know, but you're like, man, Tima, that's old. But I think about Con Air. And I always remember this with Sean Connery. And every time something happened, he was like, okay, but now that you know, well, what are you going to do about it? Now that you're getting all this mad, forget getting mad and all this complaining that you're doing. Now that you know, what are you going to do about it? So that's where, So.
No, definitely, what I'm saying, what are you going to do about it? And like I said, I like to think of it this way whenever I talk to black people about, doing something, is, okay, we all talk about slavery, so if this was slavery times, and we talk about slavery, we say, oh, I would have ran. I couldn't be no slave my whole life. But why slavery moved and say, I don't see how they live like that. I would have been the first one off the. That woman is shaving master's face every day. I would have been cut his throat. All this what I would have did and what I would have been doing. But yet, if we look at ourselves in the times now, we are, as you said, we are slaves, but we are aware. But yet nobody's still doing anything. So my thing is, if you're not doing anything now, you wouldn't have been doing anything back then.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And the few people who did take off and take that chance and risk, is still a few people now taking off and trying to make a difference and trying to see something. But what I say before about building that house, sometimes you're gonna be alone trying to find that brick. You know what I'm saying? And you look around, it's not gonna be encouraging at all. But you gotta like they did. You gotta understand that I see something and I'm fighting for something that will be appreciated later.
And people you brought up a real good point, because when you said that people act like we're not in slave times right now. We immigrants. According to somebody.
Yeah, according to somebody,
right? According to somebody.
Yeah,
but
we drove over here.
Right, right. We just took a vacation.
Yeah, a long vacation. Yeah,
it was like, this is great.
Yeah.
So, but when you look at the first of all, when you look at just crime, and just the way that we. Not only we, but the value of a black life. Whether it's what do we value, as a black life, because again, we shoot each other and kill each other over some nonsense.
Right.
And then the value that somebody else has of a black life, whether it's a police officer taking that person's life, in the just or not, because again, you can't say what you would do in that situation. Right. Some of it is what it is, whether it was just or not.
Right.
And so we act again. You know what I'm saying? We act like it's not going on. And we act like this. Oh, we're not in slavery, or we're not in this, and we're not in that. Well, you're not going to do. You didn't do anything about. You could say, "Oh, I would run off the plantation, or I would do this, or I would do that." But you still live here. You still hadn't done nothing about the police shooting. You still haven't
done anything. You ain't doing nothing. Yeah,
you're talking about.
You comfortable with how you living, and that's how a lot of slaves felt. I'm cool with this.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so, for me, when I think about that kind of comparison, that's what prompts me to do something. Because it's like, I can't sit here and watch stuff from our past, whether it be civil rights, movements and stuff like that, or even back to slavery. I can't, or Black Wall Street, being destroyed. I can't look back at that stuff and really in my heart be sympathetic if I'm not willing to transfer that energy into doing something now, out of respect for those.
Right.
And that's what we don't get. We don't get the transfer of. We showing y'all this slavery, and we're showing y'all these images of MLK to inspire y'all to do something now. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's cool to look back at it and be like, oh yeah, I know that history. It's cool to know the history, but we're missing the inspiration part that's supposed to drive us to do something now. And I think that's very a profound point that we're not getting for some odd reason. And you also said something else. You said, the killing and and why we're not doing anything about this, and we talked about assimilation. When we talk about, all of us want to assimilate. That's a part of or assimilate, integrate. All of us want to do that.
Break that down for me.
Okay. Well, when we go back to civil rights, a lot of people like to think we were fighting for separate but equal, but I would like to challenge and say some of us are fighting to be a part of. And, just like a lot of us, if we had a choice between having the title African American and American, a lot of black folks will just choose American. Yeah. Because we identify with that. We argue about the African part anyway.
Sometimes
what I'm saying?
I check other on the
right, exactly. But it's okay because every other race is doing the same thing. Asians who come over here, Indians who come over here, Hispanics, everybody are coming over here not to be Hispanic Americans or Asian Americans. They coming over here to be Americans. Yeah. So it's okay to wanna assimilate and to wanna, be a part of. But the danger for that I see is that we gotta fight for what we're assimilating into, and we're assimilating into a society that has are still upholding some of the same things that Willie Lynch stood for. And the danger in that is whoever comes over here and assimilates into the same system are going to be taught that same thing. The Asians are going to be taught that black lives don't matter. The Hispanics is going to be taught that, well, black folks, light skinned black folks don't like dark skinned black folks, and we see it when we're on the bus or we're in Walmart, and they kind of ask questions like, oh, well, what do you think about light skinned people? Because they're trying to figure out, too, because this kind of narrative of Willie Lynch, old against young, light against dark. These things are a part of this system, and that's what we should be fighting to get rid of. And that's our part. Our part is to try to tear down Willie Lynch by not encouraging it. And that's what you were getting at when you said the young black brother killing another black brother. If we're not doing those things, then regardless of what the system says, it's not going to show up in real life. So as people assimilate, they're going to be like, well, that's not true, because I've never seen another black person kill another black person. When have you seen an Asian kill another Asian? You know what I'm saying? Like we that's not something we see on a daily. So it's foreign to us. We don't encourage it. If we write material, we don't put it in the material because we don't see it. We don't hear about it. It's not told to us. We don't see it on TV. We don't hear about it in the songs. So it doesn't exist. So if we want the whole nigga thing, if we want the whole making of a slave, if we want to get rid of all that, we got to try to dig that out of our or what's the correct term, de-assimilate. We got to try to suck this kind of cancerous ideology out of the American psyche, and it's kind of stuck there, and they're shameful of it because they put it there, as a form of control. But the thing is, it's still stuck there. You know what I'm saying? So I think us teaching our kids about, we'll start off with Willie Lynch. You know what I'm saying? MLK is cool, Gandhi is cool, and and all that stuff is cool. Yeah. But we got to start with the things that we can do to try to reverse some of the damages that has been done.
And bring up other ones. Again, a lot of times the reason why they bring up Martin Luther King all the time is because it's still going on. But at the same time, like you said, let's do some alternatives. Let's teach the children about, and again, for us as well, educate ourselves and our kids on the Willie Lynch letter. Go back, talk about it, have a conversation. Invite some folks over for Taco Tuesday.
There you go.
Come over Taco Tuesday.
Get creative.
That's what we're going to talk about. Right. And we're going to invite some white folks over. I'm going to invite everybody over.
Yeah.
Let's talk about
Let's
this.
talk about it.
And then another night, let's talk about Mansa Musa. Yeah. Let's talk about, some kings and queens, and let's talk about different, ways of thinking and different things that we could talk about.
Right.
One thing that, and I don't know if anybody else is gonna find this funny. I found it hilarious, but I remember this comedian, and he was talking about. Well, okay, I'll say this. Got to set it up the right way. Make sure I'm good. All right. So I think a lot of times the things that we want people to fight for us, for our rights, blacks, black awareness, Black Lives Matter, so on and so forth. However, I think one of the things that I do see is we don't fight for other people's rights. So whether that be the LGBT community, whether that be for
the natives'
rights, you know what I'm saying?
The natives and what's going on with
we don't fight for some of these other causes.
Right.
And then we wonder why nobody's coming, fighting with us. But the joke goes, so the guy said, he said, man, the LGBT community done got more done for themselves than black folks done. And they get all these laws passed, and they get this passed, and they get these laws passed that you can't say this word, or you can't say this term, and things like that. So he made the joke that he's like, the only way you're gonna get rid of the N-word is get the LGBT to get rid of it.
Yeah, I mean,
otherwise, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, and it's a bad joke. You know what I'm saying?
Like the N-word. I mean, I like using nigga. Yeah. Not like in a derogatory, like I'm not down on nobody.
Right.
But it's a part of, culturally, it's a part of our of
I don't see why
But
people can't get that.
But see, and this is kind of where I have to interject, because I just want to say this before we go into, because these are truths. We do use the N-word,
right.
and it's become a part of culture. And when I talk about Willie Lynch, I talk about the negative, because nothing in that letter is positive. We're talking about a negative brainwashing.
Right.
Now, as survivors, we have find out ways to deal with that negative brainwashing, right? So in certain areas of the United States, I ain't gonna call out no cities, but killing another black person is culture. It's culture. It's really nothing wrong with it. not telling the police about our issues is culture in certain areas of you know what I'm saying, certain ways we deal with this.
Right.
And, you know what I'm saying? So the LGBT community has not been brainwashed negatively. You know what I'm saying? So they have a different dynamic as far as getting things done. A lot of times with us is we fight against ourselves in order to get things done. So when you can't get together yourself, you're powerless. You're powerless. You can't stand.
I want people to, because just what Duran said earlier is that, and I don't know why people don't get this. And the only thing, it's a different. I don't see why people don't get the difference between when someone's. They say, okay, well, why do you say it to each other, but this person can't say it, or I can't say it, or whatever. It's not the same connotation. It's not the same context. And then verb. Two completely different things.
We go back to the source. You go back to the source of Willie Lynch, where it came from.
Exactly.
And because you don't have that, you're not a part of that historical brainwashing. You're not using it to cope. You're using it either to be derogatory or mock,
which is more 9 times out of 10.
Exactly. So we have a lot of coping mechanisms. You know what I'm saying, that has come from that brainwashing. And for me, when we talk about African Americans, and are we Americans? Are we African Americans? People who can connect to that, I feel like. You are a part of a certain group of people over here. Now, if you don't, you say, i.e., maybe a kid that's, maybe like Obama. You know what I'm saying? If he had a different background, he may not need to use the N-word to cope. You know what I'm saying? Because based on his background, he may not connect fully back to that kind of, you know what I'm saying, to that issue. But for us who do. For us who watch, fire hoses get put on people and we get angry, and we only know them people, but you get angry. If you connect back to slavery, if you can watch a slavery movie and then you got to walk out because, it's bothering you that much and you leaving mad and your blood boiling, then
also going back to what you were saying, like a lot of, I don't know if that argument really stands as far as like the LGBT thing, because a lot of issues right now is a black culture or whatever are economic. Those are not. We passed, like LGBT was doing. We was doing in the '60s as far as like trying to gain rights. Like black folks is past that. We got the right to vote, even though they try to restrict it, and we still have it.
Right.
So now it's to the point where like we on a whole different. Like we enter into a whole different ball game as far as like what's next, and I think that's really affecting how we moving, because. How do you attack economics? Like, how can you assimilate to attack that without any legislation? And I think a lot of people argue that's what got MLK killed when he started trying to attack. It was in Memphis. He was trying to give the people raises as far as wage, and he was getting ready to take this whole civil rights thing.
They actually did a story about that.
Yeah.
People that were assassinated right before. If you looked at, they started getting into
politics and economics. Yeah, because I mean that's really the crux of this whole, like, we can go in circles as far as like talking about how to fix it, but at the core of it's all economic. And so LGBT can get, transgender rights, all that stuff is cool. But at the same time, as far as black people go, like, our problems stem way deeper than somebody having gender reassignment surgery. Like, can't nobody turn white. Like, you can't get rid of your economic situation by going through a surgery. You see what I'm saying? So it's like when people try to compare LGBT and women's rights to it's not the same. Like, as a woman, you still, as a black woman, you still get more economic privilege than, say, a black man. Like, it's easier to be assimilating to culture than it is for a black man. So, as far as women's rights, LGBT rights, Native American, all that stuff is cool for us to, get behind the support, but our problems as black people run way deeper than, and not to say it's more important, not to say that, not saying that we're more important or our problems are more important, but it's just different situations. It's a completely different bracket. You're talking about systematic and generational economic situations that are slowly gaining ground, but when somebody comes and they're talking about having a black district as far as economic goes, but you move to a white side of town, I can't take you serious. Right? Because you spend it, even though you tell me you spending your money at black businesses, you're not driving to no black gas station on the north side of town. You're gonna start right there at that Waffle Hole on the white side of town you at. So it's like, the debates and stuff we have, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to say it's silly, but to say that we need to build and we all need to get behind this whole, which I would be down for, get behind this black, movement of business. It's going to take sacrifices, and it's going to take people actually making choices. If you have a choice, you got a good job on the Arsenal, and you have a choice to move from a black side of town to a predominantly white side of town, what would you choose? I think those moments are the moments that we need to be talking about as a culture. Do you have the right to? Yeah. You worked hard enough. You work your ass off. You move. You want to. Exactly. And if you're okay with that, let's just take responsibility for that. Let's not try to curb it and do this boomerang back.
They got the gas station there.
Or just boomerang it back down to something that ain't got nothing to do with it. Like we try to offshoot stuff back to
my cousin's
60s or just like off topic. But it's like if we're gonna decide to, like we were talking about earlier, assimilate into American culture,
take responsibility
for us giving up certain aspects of our culture and be okay with it. Be able to look at yourself and tell somebody else, I'm okay with giving that up. I mean, that's at the end of the day where we get with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or I'm okay with looking at black issues and then looking the other way. You know,
or not even looking the other way, but
it is though, because the thing is, for me, I'm a very one for one. You know what I'm saying? I'm a very kind of, you know what I'm saying? I'm an even and balanced person. So my thing is, because me and some people have talked about, people make sacrifices, but yet and still the majority benefits from it. You know what I'm saying? Like, those people who make those sacrifices, they're not doing it for themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, they make those sacrifices for others to benefit. You know what I'm saying? Right. So, MLK, you know what I'm saying, was making sacrifices not for his family in general, but for people, for us. You know what I'm saying? For so it does run deep. It runs deeper. You know what I'm saying? So if you are, and it's everybody's responsibility to do something. If you don't try to do something, and you're in a position to, like Duran said, as you assimilate, if you make a decision to turn the other way, you know what I'm saying, and not try to do something, at least to try to help the cause, then I feel like, in a way, you have detached yourself from that.
And a lot of people can't be that honest with themselves.
Well, a lot of people don't want to. A lot of people hate to be that black family.
But at least say it out loud. To yourself,
I mean, it's very real. Like a lot of us, you know what I'm saying. I've been in rooms with people. You know what I'm saying, like. Family and friends and people who are close to me, and you sit down and we watch something about the past, let's say civil rights and integration and how people fought to get black schools and XYZ, but yet you and all your kids go to white schools. I you know what I'm saying, and as we look at each other, a lot of times it's hard for us to watch that material because we see how we have assimilated and we see how we have accepted certain things, and so it's like it's hard to kind of put up that fake, man, we should do more about this. Yeah. But yet everything about your life says you don't care. You see what I'm saying? It has to be some feet to pavement. Yeah. Somewhere along the road. You ain't gonna be able to do everything, but it's got to be some feet to pavement along the road. Whether it's I choose to live in my community, or I choose to move back to my community and try to get active. You know what I'm saying? To try to be an example, not just for my own rights.
To a predominantly white neighborhood, but I'm pulling resources back to the community I came from.
Exactly.
Right. I mean,
you got to be doing. You got to have some kind of feet.
As long as it's something, you know what I'm saying?
You got to have some kind of feet to pavement.
I'm not the type of person who would believe like everybody just got to stay in the hood if you're making X amount. I mean, you move where you want to and you work hard to get what you want. Right. But at the same time, like, pull back, like, pull the resources back. Kids need internship opportunities. You working on the Arsenal, let them job shadow you. Yeah. Go up to the schools and be like, hey, if y'all need students to come up and get exposed to stuff, like, we can get them in. Put that extra foot forward.
Yeah.
That's all it takes.
Because speaking of internships, Marcus Sims up in the building.
What's going on,
you know what I'm saying?
Oh my gosh, I got two.
I just want to say this before I go. It's just as much as their responsibility, black people at the top, that it is black people at the bottom who not doing nothing and who's kind of wallowing in that despair, and you still not doing anything. From the mom from the family that ain't got nothing, you got to do something. And for the family that has it all, you still got to do something. So it's everybody's job.
So y'all, you got to do something.
You got to do something.
You know what I'm saying? I definitely want to thank you guys for
It's been cool, man. It's been never love. You know what I'm saying? Y'all like family. Yeah.
Absolutely. You guys anytime you guys want to talk about something, y'all know it is what it is. We family. We got a mic. It's all good, man.
Hey, it's on.
Appreciate you guys. And if you guys are listening, watching live, thank you guys for watching. Drop your comments in there. This is In Tune with T-Mill. This is another episode. We're talking with the Isabel brothers, talking about Black awareness. Notice from now, the last episode. We are out.
Hi, this is Mossy Cruz, and you're listening to In Tune with T-Mill, playing the best in music worldwide.
To kill a mockingbird. They want to kill a mockingbird, why? No, I'd rather live a mockingbird, fly high, and feel the vibes from ancient times. I have arrived, rides, purely ill-advised, so comfortable in my skin, they treat melanin like a sin. See, the elephant in the room is as deep as the devil's grin. I ain't telling you who I am, I'm just telling you where I've been, how I'm bound. This is wrong, without a Caesar, flow sick, without a fever. I may live wrong, Lord knows, I'm far from evil, but I comprehend the man who works the feeded seeds, and I understand the nigga who keeps it behind the speaker. Just make sure that if you do what you doing it for a reason, be fluent in every season. We tussle with inner demons. I was taught better, but I need to get this cheddar up, etc., etc., etc. I was taught better, but I need to get this cheddar up earlier than scheduled. My hood needs hope, needs amazing, no incredible. They're shooting brothers down, but they're saying that they scared of us. My roots run deep, I'm southern like an oven, burning wood to get heat. Grandma had a hand in raising all of us at one time or another. She was like a mother, I could keep going no further, it's not needed, because what she did for us can never be deleted. Please believe it, when I finally blow, I hope to God that she can live to see it. This slave blood made us violent and outrageous, but we still must pass down the morals that they gave us and keep it sacred, not a secret. The streets is in need of a voice and a leader to keep us from going off the deep end. Bad dope and policemen, young brothers beefing, I'm thinking about turning vegan. I think I can turn the cheek, my nigga, let's call it even. Hey, peace, my brother, is the word, but they rather kill than to watch you live a mockingbird straight up. I was taught better, but I need to get this cheddar up earlier than scheduled. My hood needs hope, needs amazing, no incredible. They're shooting brothers down, but they're saying that they scared of us. Sirens cover the air like fog. MZ light shine like the 4th of July. Police stretching out yellow tape as the crowd arrives. They mother screams out, not my baby, her cries. Probably reach heaven and hopes that his soul didn't reach hell. We all know the ropes of the hood. Pour out liquor for our brothers who are ghosts in the hood. Some people never left, like they froze in the hood. Went to prison, get out back, selling dope in the hood. I think that we would change if we could. What would you like to be when you grow up? Just not a statistic or a victim to this sick, twisted, sadistic government system. I search for wisdom and the love to lift tongues from strangers to loved ones in the world where love is strange to more than song. But peace, my brother, is the word, cause they rather kill than to watch you live a mockingbird. Straight up.
Hey guys, this is Ashley Abbott, event host and lifestyle expert. If you ever needed a second opinion or you just have a question, you can ask me. You can email or voicemail your questions to me and I'll answer them live on Paradox East Radio. To follow and subscribe, check out soundcloud.com/Paradox East.
Hi, Ashley. So my question for you is, what is the correct way, or what is the best way to go about dating as a single parent, especially when you're dealing with teenagers? Also, keep in mind, for instance, if the person you're dating doesn't have kids. So the best way to go about dating with kids, especially if you're dating someone who doesn't have kids. Thanks.
Hi. So I got your question and you wanted to know how to go about dating as a single parent with a child that's, not a child, but someone that's a teenager, right? And also with someone who doesn't have any kids. So to me, with my perspective, I believe that, your child is always going to be the first top priority. But I also like to remind my friends that your happiness should also be a top priority too. Now, it sounds selfish, but hear me out. So, when you make your happiness just as much as a priority as your child, you'll be surprised with how much it actually brings the best out of you. So, if you're a happy person, you'll be a happy mom, and a happy mom is the best mom. A happy, you know how they say, happy wife, happy life. So that's just kind of my thought towards, how to go about dating is, it's so natural, it's so normal to feel guilty when you want to make your happiness a priority. But believe it or not, you're actually not being selfish because you know that the outcome is going to bring out the best parent in you and also bringing out the best girlfriend in you. Now, the fact that, you said you have a teenager, when I did some researching, I noticed that younger adults, I want to say young adults, she's not really an adult, she's like under 18, but, so, the older children usually, I noticed that the transition can be a little bit easier than a younger child, just from my researching. I was looking up answers of how kids come about it, and what I noticed is the younger kids, they'll feel kind of weird at first. Like, we go from celebrating holidays with one family to celebrating it with two different families, and the family I don't really know. So at first, of course, it's normal to feel weird for the kid. Eventually, they get used to it and it becomes a normal. And for the older teenagers, that are like 16, 17, I noticed the transition can be a little bit easier. Depending on how fresh the breakup is, from the way they look at it is, I see a happiness in my mom's face. I see a happiness in my dad's face. That's all they really want. Seeing your parents sad all the time can really affect your kid, because that's just something like, subconsciously in the back of their mind, that's what they're thinking, that's what they're seeing, without them even knowing it sometimes. So my way of going about it is, make sure you get to know the person first, of course, before bringing them around, your kids, because of course you want them to be a really good role model. But don't forget to also make sure you're happy. If this person's not even making you happy, there's no point of you even bringing them around. So I'm pretty sure the way you're going about it, you're doing an amazing job. Now, with him not having any kids, I don't think, you should worry about that too much. As long as he's, I don't want to use the word accepted, but as long as he is on the same page as you, kids are cool, I totally don't mind it, then I would say why not, you'll be surprised, even though they aren't a parent themselves, they will be a great father figure, because I had the same thing, my mom got with someone that wasn't my biological father, and he didn't think he was ever ready to have kids. Like, he probably had a preference of not of dating someone that didn't have kids. So, but then he liked my mom so much that it just became automatic to be a father figure towards me because of how much he was into my mother. So, that being said, you'll just know. Usually your gut instinct will just tell you. It all goes back to how you feel inside. If you feel kind of like a little bit of doubt, then, of course, look closely into it. But if he's being great to you and you just feel like he's right, then there you go.